All right, we turn our attention now to South America. Of course, big CONMEBOL qualifiers on Tuesday, perhaps the biggest. Argentina and Colombia meeting in Barranquilla. Game Colombia ends up winning 2-1 as they sit second, just 2 points behind the defending champions who are currently at the top of the table. The other big result, and I think fairly surprising, was Brazil's 1-0 loss against Paraguay. Brazil right now 5th in the CONMEBOL table. Here's what Vinicius Jr. had to say after the defeat. Quote, "We apologize to the fans who are always on our side, but this is a difficult time. We just want to improve. I know my potential. I know what I can do for the national team. Of course, it's been a very difficult process because when you don't have confidence, you don't get goals. You don't get assists and good performances. It's completely different than playing for Real Madrid. Games in Europe are different. The ball gets from one side of the pitch to the other faster. We have to know how to adapt so that everyone plays better so that we can win games." All right, for more on what Vinicius Jr. had to say and Brazil's struggles, we welcome into the show our good friend and colleague Gustavo Hoffman, who joins us from Spain. If he seems a little bit distracted, it's not because it's the middle of the night. It's because he's a huge Buffalo Bills fan, and I know he's got the Bills game on another screen there in his room. He's suffering in silence. Who are they playing? The
Miami Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins. There we go. All
We
right.
got a rival there.
They're the big, bitter rivals there. All right, so go Bills. We'll talk about the Bills on another edition of the show, Gustavo. What's been the reaction, not just to Brazil's bad performance against Paraguay, but specifically to the comments there from Vinny Jr. back in Brazil?
First of all, go Bills, and now it's always a pleasure to be here with you guys. Well, another match that Brazil has struggled. Brazil has been playing so poorly, so badly in the last weeks, in the last month. Even in the win when Brazil beat Ecuador by 1-0, Brazil didn't play well. So after these the last two matches with Brazil playing so poorly, the critics in Brazil has been so high about Vinicius. Well, what I think that we have to say is that Brazil collectively is not playing so well. Brazil is suffering a lot to defend, to attack with the players connecting themselves. We have seen the absence of Neymar. Neymar is out of Brazil's squad. Has been a long time, but Brazil has so many quality players, and what we have to ask is, why don't these players play well in Brazil? Because we watch Vinicius every weekend playing for Real Madrid, Rodrigo, Danilo for Juventus, and so many players playing well in the Premier League, like Lucas Paquetá for West Ham. And when they go to play for Brazil, we don't see a team. We always see a group of talented players that when they are together with Brazil nowadays, we don't have a good team. And the lack of confidence, for me, it's so evident now because the pressure is also so high over these players. And the main problem, in my opinion, is also the technical staff. We have to talk about Dorival Jr. because I think you will remember when he was hired, when we talked about him here, and I always said, he's a national manager. He's not an international manager. For example, like Mauricio Pochettino, who's going to manage the United States now. Dorival is a very known manager in Brazil. He had some good jobs in Brazil, but he's not an international manager. And he's struggling. Actually, he's struggling to understand how to work with a team like Brazil. And we have seen the results.
What do you think, dude? Any chance that they missed the World Cup?
No.
I know that really.
No, because
I mean, any other team.
Field, you know.
I know, but they're 5th right now.
Yeah.
If you drop to 7th, you're in the playoff, and probably in a playoff they're going to roll whoever they play.
Okay.
But I mean, there's some quality teams in South America. If
There
they're
are difficult
struggling
teams
now,
in South America.
Yeah, but we see if you struggle against the likes of a Paraguay, who didn't impress us at all, really, in a Copa America, you're going to struggle against most of the teams in South America. Like, I don't think we can take for granted that Brazil's just going to figure this out, because any time that a big team fails to qualify for a World Cup, it always starts like this. They'll turn it around, and eventually, those teams don't.
Right.
You're sure that this Brazil's going to turn it around.
I believe so. I believe so because of the games they'll have at home, and also because it's an expanded field and there's playoffs, and I think they've got.
They're 1 point ahead of Bolivia right now. Bro.
Yeah.
1 point ahead of Bolivia.
Yeah. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They've got enough talent there. I think it is mental, as Gustavo has mentioned, and I don't think Dorival Jr. is doing this team any favors. When he spouts out at the mouth of they're going to be in the 2026 World Cup final, all you're doing is adding more pressure to Rodrigo, who has more pressure to himself. They're just saying, he's upset he's not one of the best 30 players or nominated for the Ballon d'Or. Or Vinny Jr., who seems more interested in other things or angering the opponent than he does actually playing well for Brazil. This Brazilian team is not as talented as the Brazilian teams of the past, but they are more talented than half of the teams in South America, just on player personnel individually. The problem is Paraguay is a difficult team to play against. With Gustavo Alfaro, they're going to be a more difficult team to play against. They were already very good defensively. They just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. That was their MO. Very defensively well-structured team. Makes it very difficult for teams to play against, but they can't put the ball in the net. They put the ball in the net in a spectacular fashion. Diego Gomez probably will never score another goal like that in his life, and I don't mean to disrespect it. It's just one of those worldly type goals. It was a Luka Modric type of goal. Vinny Jr., I think, is frustrated. Why is he frustrated? Because he sees that he can do this day in, day out with Real Madrid, but he cannot with the Brazilian national team. Now, that is circumstantial. The fields you play on, higher grasses, altitude, different types of climates. Also, the personnel you have around you. I'm sure in his time when he was steamrolling through La Liga and Champions League players and defenders, he had Toni Kroos servicing. He had Luka Modric there. You have Valverde next to you. You have now an Mbappe. You have Rodrigo, who seemed like the Rodrigo who would come up in clutch moments. You don't have that personnel. You've got Lucas Paqueta, who's, I think, a very serviceable player. But by no means is he Neymar. You are missing that magical player, missing what Neymar can offer you. Neymar today, and Gustavo, you can attest to this, he stopped playing in October of 2023 through that ACL injury. Till this day, nobody in CONMEBOL has more assists than him in World Cup qualifying. He is still the top dog. You look at international football, nobody in the history of the game has had more assists. He's the leading goal scorer of the Brazilian national team, a national team that's had players like Pelé, Romario, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, and it's Neymar. So when you have all these things going against you with the limited personnel you have already, and the one special player can help you is on the mend, not on the field, you're going to struggle. And then Dorival Jr., I go back to him. It'd be so much easier if you had an experienced international coach who's been there and done that.
Yeah. Gustavo, what did you make of the comments from Dorival Jr. that they're going to be in the final come 2026? And are you at all worried, unlike Herc, about this team qualifying for the next World Cup?
Well, about what Dorival Jr. said, for me it was unbelievable because you hear Dorival saying, "Oh, we're gonna be in the World Cup final," and then we watch the games and say, "What? Really? Do you really think that we're going to the finals with this team playing like this?" It was for me. It put like Hercules said. It put more pressure over the players and over him also. Now in CBF, they are not talking about a change. But for me, his job is not safe. His job is not safe because Brazil will play against Chile away and Peru at home in the next two matches. If Brazil doesn't win, or if Brazil wins only one match, the pressure will still be high. So let's see what's going to happen. I really don't think that Brazil will miss the World Cup. Like Hercules said also, this is not the most talented team that Brazil has ever had, but it is still more talent than Paraguay, than Chile, than Bolivia, than Peru. So I think that some change will have to happen over in the squad. If Dorival stays in the job, he has to find solutions to make his players play much better, to have more connections in the field. And Neymar will be back. For sure, Neymar will be back. The problem here is, of course, that Brazil is missing Neymar, but when he comes back, he cannot be the savior because you're going to have more pressure. Not only over him, but over the team also. He cannot be the savior, and this is the problem. When he comes back, he should be back in a team that is already playing well. where he would just be one more piece, the most talented piece in this team, and he would help this team. But now everybody's looking to Neymar like he's gonna save Brazil. And we 1 year ago, more like 2 years ago in the World Cup, we were saying, and there were many critics in Brazil about Neymar dependence. And now we're already waiting here him again to be the savior.